It's difficult to pick a mom. It's even more difficult for me to pick a young man. We use the phrase sometimes, he's a good kid. I don't mean kid at all derisively. There are so many quality young gentlemen. Brother Chris uses the phrase, and I love the phrase, gentlemen of integrity, good kids, young men who most of the time work hard, young men who most of the time do what it is we ask you to do. So I'm not looking for the all-star, the all this, the all that, a quality young man who represents the seniors and represents the young men in our school. And one young man like that is Aiden Ryan. Aiden's a very bright young man, there's no doubt about that. But he's a young man who also works extremely hard at what he does. His intelligence to me is marked by the fact that when there's something he doesn't really know, he takes that as a personal challenge to fill that void. He's going to find out. He's a young man who's definitely got an opinion on things. As the editor of the Student Prince, that's certainly very evident. But he's also willing to step back and be respectful towards anybody else that he comes in contact with. He works hard, he participates in a variety of activities. Why someone who is in concert band and jazz band would also pick swing choir is beyond me. But he's at school almost as much as Mr. Hellerer is. Before I bring him up, though, and I don't want to create a situation here, I would invite Aiden, I would invite Ed Zermheld to take a look at your father's yearbooks and check out the senior quotes that are in those yearbooks. I think you'd be surprised. So again, a young man who is a gentleman of integrity, it's my pleasure to bring up as a student speaker, Mr. Aiden Ryan.
Mom, I can't really see you because of this awkward box, but this is for you. This is a tumultuous time in the relationship between mother and son. The high school years mark, among so many other things, a divergence of interests between those who were so close a mere handful of years before. Mothers, given the benefit of experience and hindsight, wince and worry as their increasingly independent and foolhardy boys insist on getting further and further away from home and the sometimes stifling influence of their parents. Far too often it seems that mother and teenage son are two forces of nature, predestined to oppose each other. That's why nights like tonight are so beautiful. Human relationships are complex things, full of irrationality and contradiction, and the relationship between a mother and a son is no exception. We love, we fight, we laugh, we get upset, and we get annoyed, and we don't always see eye to eye. But then we get dressed up, drive out to the Hearthstone, dance for hours, and have a wonderful time. And it really doesn't make sense, but it doesn't have to. That's why it's so special. The bond between mother and son is undeniably unique, and I'd say unbreakable. Tonight, I'd like to reflect on that bond and the relationship between mother and son, and the many forms it's taken over the years. As we all know, a mother is often a chauffeur. Our moms used to drive not only us, but all our friends to soccer games, movies, and all over the greater Buffalo area. Now they wait patiently in the St. Joe's parking lot for various practices to end, only to drive their Mobian monosyllabic sons back home, where we can grunt once in appreciation and disappear into our homework. I remember, before I started driving, how my mom would sit in front of St. Joe's, sometimes for hours, every Tuesday and Thursday night, as Mr. Diot held the swing choir captive, lecturing us on the American legal system, the decline of morality in the modern world, and sometimes even the finer points of singing. All this, and barely a word of complaint, usually. I could go on and describe a mother's other mundane jobs, as chef, filling our bottomless stomachs, as maid, cleaning up in the wake of our destructive combination of preoccupation and self-centeredness. But a mother's role transcends that of mere indentured servitude, despite what it sometimes may seem. A mother is something of a guardian angel, whether through some inherent mother's sixth sense, or because she checks Edline every 10 minutes. My mom seems to know whenever something's wrong, and she'll try her very best to fix it, whether I want her to or not. I might be reluctant sometimes to ask for help, but I know that despite the million other things going on in my mom's life, she's looking out for me, and she always will. A mother is a counselor and a confidant. Though we may be hesitant at first, we all know deep down that our mothers are always ready to listen to us, whether we want to ask for advice or just vent in minute detail about the avalanche of schoolwork, jobs, extracurriculars, and conflicting commitments that threatens to overwhelm us at every step of our high school careers. Our mothers will listen and nod and comfort, all while thinking, he doesn't know the half of it. It only gets worse. I still can't bring myself to believe that one. A mother is an endless source of patience and love. I don't mean, of course, that she never has her moments. A mother isn't always the paragon of calm and composure, and at times she can turn from the Pacific to the Bermuda Triangle in under a minute. What I mean, though, is that teenage boys are master agitators. We've lived long enough to know exactly which buttons to press to baffle our parents and throw them into fits of seeming madness, but not quite long enough to know that we really shouldn't. We leave our clothes and school books all over the house. We leave our dirty dishes in the sink. We forget to take out the trash. We run from responsibility like the plague. And when we neglect to turn in our Christian ministry service project proposals until mid-March, our mothers end up taking a phone call from Deacon Bill. That's the amazing thing to me. Through all this, despite the disagreements and occasional flare-ups, our mothers are unapologetic in their immutable love for us. I'm convinced that my mother's capacity for forgiveness and understanding borders on the divine. Still, though, this doesn't quite define a mother or explain the mystery of the mom prom. I don't enjoy dancing. You can ask my girlfriend. And yet, for 4 years, I've come to the mom prom and danced like a drunk uncle at a wedding. And really, we all do. And why? Because, perhaps most importantly, a mother is a friend. Someone to whom, despite all your differences, you can relate. Someone who you know has your back. Someone to whom you can go out on a Saturday night to have a good time. Now, I've listed some of the many roles a mother plays, but even together, they aren't adequate. Many people have said many eloquent things about that most noble and selfless life's dedication, which we call motherhood. However, as I began writing this reflection, I realized that none of them did any justice, that a mother cannot truly be described in relation to a handful of qualities, no matter how admirable. A mother is simply a mother. She's in a class of her own. I love you, Mom, and thanks for everything.